Have you ever seen an AskReddit post that was made for you, but it was too late to tell your story and have it heard? What was that story? Not in AskReddit, but I've posted the same story twice in Neil deGrasse Tyson Amor's too late because of weird time zones and I'd quite like him to see it. When I was a kid I saw him on a documentary about Pluto and I sent him an email asking about it. He replied, and then a few months later asked if he could use the email in a book he was writing about Pluto. I said sure. Then about 5 years later when I'd completely forgotten about it, the signed copy of the book showed up in the mail, along with a note saying that my email wasn't in it but he'd still like me to have a complimentary copy. It's the sort of thing you don't have to do but he did anyway, and he made young me very happy with that. Most embarrassing doctor story. My doctor handed me a cup and said, "I think you know what this is for." I was having excessive diarrhea and was beginning to dehydrate because of it. I thought, my crap is broken. He must want some crap. I dropped a giant cup worth of steamy juice into the cup, wiped off the edges, and came out. I handed the cup to him asking, "Is that what you were looking for?" rhetorically. He looked at it briefly, held it up to the light, and said, "Close. Really close. Try again." TLDR. Doctor wasn't specific enough. I crap into a cup and handed it to him. Golden. Simply golden. I mean brown. For the what's the most embarrassing thing that happened to you at the doctor's office post from yesterday. I had a pizza delivery guy walk in on me while I was getting a pelvic exam at the OB-GYN. My feet were up in the stirrups. My doctor's hand was in my vag. Yeah, the whole bit. Apparently the nurses had ordered a pizza and directed the guy to bring it to the break room, but he opened the wrong door. You'd think at an OB-GYN you'd at least knock before entering any closed rooms, right? Yeah, no. He couldn't have seen anything, though, and I'm pretty sure he was more embarrassed than I was. Still sounds like the plot to a bad porno. Did somebody order a pizza for? Oh, sorry dude. Don't leave. I could actually use a hand here. One thing leads to another. The thread was about keeping your manners despite the situation. I got an old junker car for $200 and was explained that part of the reason for the price was because there was a rat's nest in the trunk. I figured it wouldn't be too big of a problem and vowed to clean it out within a month of getting it. Jump forward a few weeks in the extremely hot summer, and I was getting ready to do the deed. I had trash bags, shovels, buckets of water, soap, and some steel wool. As I am getting everything ready, I notice a very attractive lady turn the corner and start walking down the block. I open up the trunk to survey the damage, and it's pretty bad. The nest was easily as big as the space for the spare tire. The worst thing was the smell. The rancid rat and dead rat smell mixed with rat excrement pushed me over the edge, where I then spun around and vomited all over the street. I look up to see the attractive woman stopped and appalled at the scene. I, with vomit still dripping from my mouth, made eye contact and said, "Hi, how are you?" Needless to say, she started walking quite a bit faster after giving me no response. In a post "What's your best I've made a huge mistake moment?" While living in Munich, Germany, I attended the Stark Beer Fest. For those of you not familiar with this, the Stark Beer Fest takes place around the end of March if I recall correctly. The beer is strong, stark, as the name would indicate, approaching 20% ABV and served by the liter. I drank too much one night and upon returning to my apartment in a blackout state, managed to strip down to my underwear and go to bed. One that I was later thankful had only sheets and no blanket at the time. When I awoke in the morning I discovered that while highly intoxicated and unconscious I had completely lost control of my bowels and filled my underwear beyond capacity. Disgusted, I stood up and removed my underwear. I threw them onto my sheets, wiped as much of the foul as I could from myself, wadded up the sheets and intended to throw them away. As I passed my bathroom I threw a towel around my waist, not wanting to potentially taint any of my actual clothing. As I walked out of my apartment with one hand full of filthy, smelling bedding, I grabbed my keys with the other hand and walked down the stairwell. At the bottom I darted out to the dumpster, grabbed my sheets with both hands and tossed them up and into the tall receptacle. It was then that I heard the sound of clink-car-plink as my keys bounced off the back interior of the dumpster. Now I am cold, nearly naked, but cracks still not entirely free of my filth, and now locked out of my apartment building. I had made a huge mistake. Last time I heard that noise it was when my ring that my mother had given me slid off my finger and landed in the trash compactor. Something about unfortunate names. My grandpa went to school with this kid named Mike Sass, which isn't really a terrible name except he was quarterback of the football team. So on Friday nights you'd often hear the announcer say, "Touchdown by so and so" with a pass from Mike's butt. I had a Korean exchange student in my class when I was 10, named Eric John. CH had a soft sound like sh. The thread was what was something bad you did as a kid, but your parents never found out or something along those lines. Well, I am an identical twin. My sister is amazing at biology and actually went to a high school that specialized in biology. I'm more of a math and technology person. So when some of the colleges I applied to required a Math Sat 2 and Science Sat 2, I figured I was screwed. It started as a joke, but eventually I convinced my sister to take my Sat 2 in bio. The day of, I paid her in weed and a bagel and she took it. The best part? She ended up getting a freaking 790 for me, but took it for herself and got a 720. For non-Americans, sections on the Sat and Sat 2 are out of 800, and usually anything above a 750 is considered really dang good. Something about almost dying. My father grew up on a massive farm with many cows. His mother was an artist and recently one of their cows had died. She asked him to go a mile up the hill into their pasture and get its head so she could paint it. So, he went out there and picked up the skull, not thinking twice. After about a 10-15 minute walk back he put it in the tub so she could clean it. As she began to clean it she called him in and turned the skull over to show him something. There, huddled together, were nests of baby black widows. There were nearly thousands. Had he held it from the bottom, he and I may not be here right now. TLDR. My father went out to get a cow skull and after a long walk of holding it, he discovered it had black widows all over it. Yeah, there was one yesterday that was asking for stories where people prove stereotypes to be true. The girl had just been spat on by a French man in Paris. Personally, I haven't been spat on in Paris, but when I went on a school trip there, one of the guys in my group got spat on by an older lady. Here's how it went down. We were back at the hotel for the night, and we decided to go out in the courtyard across the street to play some frisbee. I was about to throw the frisbee when I noticed that one of my friends, who was leaning against a wall, looking at pictures he had taken on his camera, was being confronted by a French lady. First, she asked him if he spoke English. He said no because he thought that she might have been a gypsy who was going to ask for money or something. She then started yelling at him in French. After a bit of that, she started speaking English. Here's what I remember. Her. Why did you take a picture of me? Him. I didn't. Her. Yes you did. I felt it. Do you like the older women? Do you like the cougars? Then she sprayed spit all over his face and walked off. The whole group of us was just standing there in the courtyard for a bit wondering what had just happened. I don't think I like Paris very much. TLDR. I witnessed a friend get spat on by a crazy French lady in Paris who thought that he had taken her picture. Thread. How and when did you lose your kissing virginity? It's a good one. So, when me and my sisters, triplets, were younger, we would make movies with the girl next door. Short little 10-15 minute things. Very fun. Sometimes we got the other girl next door involved. Note, we were 10. Nicole the girl next door was 12. She invited me to her house once when my sisters were helping my mom at her office. Kinda weird but I went with it. We start out by looking at her dad's massive record collection. Then we went into her driveway and she started shaving her legs with duct tape. I was told to look away. I did but I peeked. Then we went into her room and she offered me some bonbon French candy that was big at the time for some reason. And started watching Will and Grace. Now you must understand I was 10 years old at the time and still not accustomed to gay people. Almost scared. So watching this show was really starting to freak me out. After watching about half an episode on the couch next to her she turned to me and said, I think in our next movie we should have a big explosion where the lead character and his girlfriend kiss. I want you to be the lead and I should be your girlfriend. Wanna practice? I had no idea where this was going so I said sure. Of course I knew what kissing was but it just wasn't making sense to me at the time. She moved her face close to mine and kissed me and I jumped up like it was the plague. She LOL'd. We tried again a little. I hit her tooth. It was awkward. I went home and into my mom's room. No one was home except my Baco, and started screaming and crying. It was ridiculous. 10-year-old me was having a massive breakdown. I called her at work and explained the whole situation to her and her co-workers, and my sisters were listening and laughing the whole time while I was bawling and screaming uncontrollably. The next day she came over and my mom gave her a talking to about why a 12-year-old shouldn't be kissing a 10-year-old. I was a weird kid. TL. DR. Kissed girl. Had mental breakdown. What has been your worst birthday experience? In 8th grade my best friend was one of the most popular kids in school. We'll call him John. And I was an awkward theater kid. Our birthdays were a week apart from each other, so we decided to combine our birthday parties together. John and I threw a party at my dad's house, because he has a dance club in the downstairs, and we invited around 60-65 people. Around 45-50 people showed up, including my girlfriend at the time and some of my really close friends. Only about 5 people realized it was my birthday as well as John's. So I got about 4 presents and he got around 40. Not that I care that much about the presents. It is more of the fact that people didn't acknowledge my birthday that was at my house. The saddest part about it was that my girlfriend didn't even get me anything, but she got John something. She broke up with me a week later. The redeemable part of the night was when one of my friends came up to me and said, "Hey Gibsonsk 13, I got you something." And not John. The kid isn't butthole. TL. DR. I combined my birthday party with my best friends. A ton of people showed up including my girlfriend, and didn't realize it was my birthday too. Thread. What is the craziest crap you've ever heard someone say in their sleep? My ex reported this one to me when I woke up. Me. Sleeping. You need to get the kids and get out of here. We had no kids. Her. Do what? Me. Look. They have too many to overcome. There are tanks on the front lines and the people here are just too inexperienced to fight back. Get the kids and get the frick out of here. Her. Okay. Me. Fricking siege tanks. Oh well. Didn't expect to come out of this alive anyway. Her. Are you going to die? She liked to troll me while I was sleep talking. Me. Frick. Woman. We're all going to die here. But I'm gonna take as many of these sorry bastards out as possible. Get the kids and get out while you can. I love you. I'll see you on the other side. Apparently, I stopped responding to her after this point. I still have no recollection of what I was dreaming of. What is the craziest crap you've ever heard someone say in their sleep? Reported to me. Pip. The potatoes are burning. The potatoes are burning. Oh god, the potatoes are burning. Same question. My fiance began punching his pillow and yelling Wi-Fi over and over. Stupidest way you've hurt yourself? This isn't my story, but rather another person in the band. So, everyone is standing around after the concert band competition, pulling off dress shirts and cummerbunds. Like typical teenagers, everyone is full of pent-up energy, and people start chasing each other around. There's a huge glass window, more like a wall really, but it's so clear it looks like nothing's there. We're putting everything away and we heard a crash and shattering glass. We turn, and a guy is lying on the grass outside, surrounded by glass and arm bleeding, with an astounded look on his face. From what is the worst thing you've found out about someone you knew well? By hearing about it in the news 2 weeks ago. A guy I went to high school with lost it and brought a gun to his college. It felt unreal that someone I knew that was such a kind and loving person could bring themselves to do something crazy like that. I think the most heartbreaking thing was hearing the story that one student told. He was making his way down the stairs in the library when my shooter friend was making his way up in a ski mask suit, wielding an AK-47. My friend bumped into him by accident and said, "Oh, sorry, excuse me." Meanwhile, everyone around campus who didn't know him vilified him for putting so many people's lives in danger. I guess it's only natural, but I knew that he wouldn't ever hurt anyone. Thread. What was the craziest crap you've ever heard someone say in their sleep? My twin sister has a very bad habit of answering the phone in her sleep. It's amazing and I should catch them on video. My favorite is when she answered the phone and kept telling the person, no, you don't understand. I'm on a quest for a dragon. It must be done with only my backpack and my unicorn. I almost peed myself, and because back then we didn't have caller ID, we still have no idea whom she said this to. Thread, what's one comeback you've used in life that was so smooth you still grin when you think back on it? I don't know if it's really that good, but this was my response. Well, this thread is dead, and I don't know if this is really a comeback. Whatever. I was hitting on a girl, kinda drunk, and I went really cheesy with the line, I'm looking for the path to your heart. Sounds better in Spanish, believe me. To what she replied with, I can't give you that. So I said, well, how about the shortcut to your pee? Cheesy pickup lines always sound better in Spanish. My username, damn it. I made this account a long time ago when people didn't pay much attention to usernames on Reddit. I thought my username was clever, but every time a post was made asking about how you came up with your username, I was late to the stupid party. Weeks became months, months became years, late, every single goddamn time. Now I don't even freaking remember why I thought it was so freaking special. I hate those stupid username stories posts now. I hate them. I hate THME. It was in the most ridiculous lie you've ever successfully told thread from last week. 2 year 7 kids were sent to the vice principal's office because they were running through a part of the building that was only for the 6th formers, year 12 and 13 students. The VP's office was in the 6th form building. They're sitting there and the bell had gone for the start of 3rd period and one of the boys asked me if they're allowed to leave. I said that they shouldn't because they'd be in more trouble. The other boy asked me how the VP would know that they'd left and this happened. They have tracking devices in your blazers. Really? Why? It's because there were loads of people bunking, skipping their lessons last year. So they put little devices under the padding in the shoulders so the school knew if they were over the shop or actually in the first aid room. Are they allowed to do that? Yeah. Did you read the parent school agreement? We actually have these. You got before you started here? UHH. No, I think my mum did though. Well, it says it in there. Then the head of 6th form told me to stop teasing the new kids and she wrote them a note to excuse lateness to their lessons so they could leave and come back after school. I commented with this but it didn't get seen. Thread was something like, what was something that you really should have seen coming but failed to see it anyway? Kinda long. It was my first year in high school, and I was shy and insecure. I'd spent most of my life pretty chubby, and I hated that about myself. I would even spend most of my time in class assuming the people around me were judging me. It was an awful existence. One day we're doing some group project, and I was too afraid to ask anyone to be my partner. Teacher assigns me some other shy girl as ugly and insecure as I am, Annie. Fast forward a year or so. Annie and I are still shy and awkward. We don't have much, but we have each other. Puberty is starting to do its job, and she's starting to look pretty attractive. I'm not so lucky. Our friendship progresses and the transition into a romantic relationship was so smooth we hardly even noticed it happened. College. I stay at home and go to the city college. She goes to the fancy private school a few hours away. I go to visit her, maybe 4th week in. 1 month since I've seen her. First big separation in years. So excited. I pick her up at her dorm. She gives me a little tour and she rushes us off to dinner. Something's off. We're eating, she looks sad. I get nervous. She starts to cry. Chokes. Literally. Big eyes staring at me. I don't know what to do. All I do is ask Annie, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay, Annie? TL. DR. Long distance relationships don't end well. I really should have seen that coming. What is the most embarrassing moment of your life? What is the stupidest way you have injured yourself? TL. DR. I ran headfirst into a wall and fricked myself up pretty badly in front of the entire band, and both the girl and guy I liked. Many moons ago, it was the first day of band camp. The drum major bid the band to run from the stage, where we were stretching, to the band room. Me, being the new girl on drumline and eager to prove myself, I ran with wild abandon down the backstage hallway, the rest of the band at my heels. They called my name Emula. Wait, slow down. I heard nothing. I was free, flying down the inclined hallway. My winged feet barely touched the ground. I completely forgot about the 90-degree turn the hallway took. Nonetheless, nothing was going to stop me from being the first person in that band room. Except for the freaking concrete wall and the sharp as ever living frick set of risers. I couldn't stop. I was afraid. So afraid. The wall got closer and closer and I couldn't stop and my dinkles were squealing across the linoleum. And I hit the risers and I kept going and hit the wall and slid down into a crumpled, freely bleeding pile of shame and pain and defeat. I dislocated my shoulder, slipped my kneecap, split my chin, and had cuts going from my knee to my thigh. But the band was all laughing. Their laughter echoed and bounced back on me in the concrete hallway. I smashed my eyes closed, willing it all away. It didn't work. When I opened my eyes, my section leader was above me. His eyes were unlawing and his brow knitted with worry. Swoon. He scoop pulled me up and carried me a few feet, then turned pale and dropped me on my butt because I had accidentally bled on him. He faints at the sight of blood. Then the drum major, who also happened to be the girl I liked, laughed her butt off at me as she helped me to the band room and duct taped an ice pack to my leg. I have never lived it down. Upvote because those early summer band bonds are so fragile, and drum majors are always hot. The one I saw was about near-death experiences. Tried to commit suicide by taking 48 extra strength Tylenol and 7 melatonin. Helps you sleep. I waited about 15 hours before telling anyone what I did. I went to the hospital, vomiting horrendously. I was soon helicoptered about 1 hour later to a bigger hospital. The only funny thing I could remember was the people who took me out of the helicopter hit my head on the top. Luckily it was padded. I guess they do that often. Anyways, I was vomiting stomach acids and bile, black and burnt so bad coming up. It felt like I could feel my teeth eroding. I had bags of potassium squeezed into me through IVs, tranquilizers, liquids to hydrate me, just everything through IVs. I was there for only a total of 3 days. I did not shower because they would have to watch me shower, which I was not comfortable doing. I was only about 13 with serious depression. I was not allowed to eat anything other than ice chips, which I would also throw up. I threw up about every 3 minutes. I convinced all the therapists that I was stable and was just a momentary thing and they let me go. I actually needed help though. I look back at it now thinking wow, I could have really died. I'm just so thankful of all of the medical advances to this day. I'm 17 now and still get chills from the horrible feeling. When I got home I ate a whole entire pizza. It was delicious. I look back at it now thinking wow, I could have really died. Yup, sounds like you took 24 grams of acetaminophen and didn't get treatment until like 16 hours after the overdose. At 13 years old, you're really dang lucky to be alive. It was the post that was something like what's the grossest thing that ever happened to you that involved bodily fluids? I wrote about the time that my mom went to fake fart on me but actually sharted on my leg. What is your best? I like my women like I like my joke. I like my women like I like my chocolate. Without nuts. Was waiting for that to be a troll post like. I like my women like I like my chocolate. White. Most messed up thing you did while frisky. In college, my roommate had a really good lady friend that would come and stay at our place after a good night of drinking, so as to not bother her own roommate, who was an early to bed and early to rise kind of girl. T was cute as heck, about 5'3", thin, with a nice rack and a penchant for having about 2 men. This was one of those setups where you have 2 beds just across a room from each other, no private space. One Thursday night she stumbles in, predictably, carrying some couch cushions from the hall sitting room and lays them out in a nice neat little bed. I rolled over and went back to sleep, only to wake up a few hours later having to pee, and of course, having a major sleep woody. I sat up and hit the dim little light I had taped to the wall so I could grab my slippers and make my way to the hall bathroom. As I looked down to make sure I didn't step on T, I noticed that the sheet had come off her and somehow in her drunken sleep thrash, her shirt had come up around her neck, exposing her glorious titties. This was just too much for me. I snapped a quick cell phone pic and started touching myself. I didn't really mean to get off. It just kind of happened suddenly, while I was fantasizing. Normally, it would just be a dribble, but I guess because of the added stimulus and the extended period of being single having no private space to whack it, this one came out full force. Thick and voluminous. It landed in a neat little streak across one nipple, up her neck, and in a big blob right on her cheek, that eventually slid down her face and through the valley formed by her closed lips, right onto her pillow. I froze in terror. I was numb. Surely that would wake her up. After a few minutes of complete stillness, my heart rate went back down and I regained the feeling in my legs. She didn't budge. So what do? Get out the camera, snap a few more pics, take a pee and go back to sleep. She never said anything and continued to come over to sleep in our room. So I guess she never figured it out. TLDR. Girl passed out in my room. I blew a load on her and took pics of it. Feel Spedman JPG. Edit. Fixed formatting. Yup, I'd say that post was made for you. Quite a few. I am either too late or my response would be too dang depressing and weird. Like there was one about how long have you gone without fapping, and my answer would be 17 years, but it was all about being abused and mental and such. With the one today about do all men watch P, I might have had something to say, since I don't watch it, but in that case I was a bit late and figured no one would believe it anyhow. I am a bit weird, I suppose. My actual fantasies, like the things I actually think about now that I have managed to allow myself to think about it, would be things like holding hands. Seriously, blows my mind. I have seen P. This is the internet after all, but it just doesn't seem to work for me. I would imagine somewhere online there is hand holding P. Any of those medical doctor ones. I had an operation done on my ear about 3 years ago now. Can't remember the long name for it, but it was the first time it had been performed in the southern hemisphere, second time worldwide. As I was being put under, I asked my doctor how he thought he'd go. It should be fine. I've googled it a bit. I had a good laugh though. Everyone in the room did help. This guy had done about 10 operations on me previously, so I was cool with him saying that haha. TLDR. Doctor googled how to do my operation. Have you ever seen an AskReddit post that was made for you, but it was too late to tell your story and have it heard? What was that story? While I was on the toilet this morning and reading AskReddit, my exact thoughts were I hate it when I can't tell my story because there are too many comments. Bad breakup revenge story. Long story short, girl dumped me and began dating another man. I'd suspected she had been cheating on me. I went to the bar to drown my sorrows with the guys. Ended up meeting the girl's mom there. Beautiful woman. Single. A MILF. As the kids these days say. Early 40s. Drop dead gorgeous blonde. She had heard her daughter had dumped me. Offered to buy me a beer. Ended up banging her that night. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.